your mean, mean pride.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 12 of the Bears Den. Today, with you as always, I'm here, your head host, Filippo Mazza, but for the first time in Bears Den history, Alex Schmino will not be joining us today. He is on a golfing trip in Orlando. But that is okay because with me, I have two stellar co-hosts. To my right, I have the GNMHL regular season scoring champion, Jacob Burton. How are you doing today, Jake?
Good, you?
And on my left, I have the Sudbury High School regular season scoring champion, Callum Roque. How are you doing?
Pleasure to be on the show, Mr.
All right,
Mazza.
so I got two scoring champions, and then I had a decent season, I guess, but I can't compare to these guys. Anyways, we'll start the March Madness bracket today. So all we're doing all show is we're gonna have all three of our brackets. We're gonna tell you who we think is gonna win here and there. We're probably gonna all end up being wrong in the end because anything can happen, but we'll make our picks and we'll get the show started. So starting us off, I will get the show going, and then we'll go on from there. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at my bracket right now. We'll start it off with the easy matchups, I guess. The 1 versus 16 seed. I don't know anybody that's going to take Mount St. Mary's over Villanova, and if you do, see a doctor. We have Villanova. I have Villanova over Mount St. Mary's, and as for the 8-9, these are usually toss-ups in my opinion. But for me, I have Virginia Tech getting the upset over Wisconsin, in which case Villanova and Virginia Tech would play in the next round. Moving on. We have the 5-12 and the 4-13 matchup. Personally, a lot of people were saying that UNC Wilmington is a good pick for an upset here. I just don't see it because I see Virginia as a team that has stellar defense, and in my opinion, defense wins championships. So I have Virginia over UNC Wilmington in that case. Big upset here for me. I have ETSU over Florida. I'm going to be honest, no real reason why I picked this pick. I just had a good feeling about ETSU over Florida. So in that case, we'd have UVA and ETSU in the next round. Moving on, we have SMU versus, this is Providence or USC. So thank you, Callum, off camera. I see SMU having no problem with that one. I know that there might be an upset there, but I see SMU as a team that's come in really hot into the tournament. I know that they were in the AAC's conference, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I still see them being over Providence or USC easy in that one. Baylor over New Mexico State, really easy pick in my opinion. I don't think New Mexico State's going to have that much of an impact on Baylor. Baylor's got a really good team this year. Then it would be SMU and Baylor in the next round. Moving on, I have another upset here. I have Marquette over South Carolina. Again, no real reason. I just had a good feeling about this one as well. I have Duke over Troy because, so help me God, please let there not be another 15-2 in the first round, because if that happens, I'm going to be right rattled. But anyways, I don't see Duke having a problem with Troy, in which case we got Marquette and Duke in the next round. So now we move on to another 1-16 seed. Again, you pick South Dakota State, see a doctor, something's wrong with you, because Gonzaga has had an unreal season this year, and I see them having absolutely no problem with South Dakota State. This game right here, the 8 versus 9 Northwestern, I know that this is their first trip to the March Madness tournament, but just don't see them as a good enough team to beat Vanderbilt, so I have Vanderbilt over Northwestern in that matchup. Moving on, we have the 5-12, 4-13 matchups. Princeton, I know, has a really good team. I was debating using them as an upset, but I just don't think they can match that caliber of Notre Dame. It'll definitely be a close game, but I have Notre Dame edging out Princeton in that game, and West Virginia over Bucknell. So we'll move on from there. The 6 versus 11, I have Xavier over Maryland. Maryland has come in skidding into the tournament. I don't like the way they're playing basketball recently, and I think Xavier can upset them. And then I'll have FSU over Florida Gulf Coast University. Shouldn't be too big of a problem, but you never know, right? I mean, Michigan State last year, that ruined my bracket. But I digress. We'll move on. We got VCU and St. Mary's. I see VCU over St. Mary's as an upset there. And Arizona over North Dakota. Again, 15-2. I'm not going to really explain that one because you don't need to. As for another 1 versus 16 matchup, I'm not even going to delve into that because Kansas has a really good team and they're a 1 seed, so they shouldn't have a problem. Miami over Michigan State. I have this because I've seen Miami play some really good basketball this year, beating teams like Kansas. They're playing really well, and Michigan State, on the other hand, has come in. They're another team that's coming in cold into March Madness. I see Callum's mad at me off camera there, but that's my opinion anyways. Then we have Kansas and Miami in the next round as for that. Moving on, I have Iowa State over Nevada. I have Iowa State going very far. Actually, I really like the way they're playing basketball recently. And Vermont is an upset over Purdue. I like their logo. That's my justification for that one. Plus, I think that they're playing decent enough basketball to beat Purdue. I don't really know what to tell you guys other than that. I like Vermont in that game. Moving on, URI, University of Rhode Island. I have them beating Creighton because of the fact that URI's defense is looking very good. And as I just said earlier, defense wins championships. I like defense. I have Oregon over Iona. Oregon's got a really good team this year. They shouldn't have too much of a problem there. I have Michigan over Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's having some trouble recently, so I see Michigan over them, no problem. And Louisville over Jacksonville State. And I think we're about coming to the south right here. UNC over Texas Southern, again 1/16. Seton Hall is my upset over Arkansas. It's an 8 versus 9, which they're all going to be tough, but hopefully that one works out. My favorite matchup of the tournament is right here, Minnesota versus Middle Tennessee. I love the boys at Middle Tennessee. I know that they ruined my bracket last year with the Michigan State matchup, but hopefully they can repeat that kind of success. They definitely have a better team than last year. I know that the Gophers are playing really good, but I hope Middle Tennessee gets by, and I think that they will. And Butler over Winthrop, I don't see too much of a problem. Butler has played really, really good basketball this season. Moving on, I have Cincinnati over Kansas State. Kansas State's not really, many people were seeing them not as a team that even deserved to be there. So I see Cincinnati taking that game, and UCLA over Kent State. The last two matchups in the round of 64, I have Wichita State with an upset over Dayton. I love the way Wichita State is playing basketball, and Kentucky over Northern Kentucky. That will be a good game, a little bit of a rivalry there, but those are my first round picks, so we will head over to the round of 32, and I'll get back. Okie doke, so we're on the round of 32 right now. I'm going to blaze through these ones. It won't be as in-depth as last round. I have Villanova over Virginia Tech, Virginia over ETSU. We'll move on. Baylor over SMU, Duke over Marquette. And from there, Zaga over Vanderbilt, and West Virginia over Notre Dame. That will definitely be a good game for sure, though. Big upset here, I have Xavier over FSU, and Arizona over VCU. This game right here, I just see Xavier as a team that can really play spoiler quite a bit in this tournament, and hopefully they do. Moving on, I have Kansas over Miami, Iowa State over Vermont. The Kansas game should be a good game, but at the same time, Kansas is playing some lights-out basketball right now. Oregon over Rhode Island, and Michigan as an upset over Louisville. We'll move on from there to UNC taking out Seton Hall, and Butler ending Middle Tennessee's route at the round of 32. And from there, UCLA over Cincinnati, Wichita State as an upset over Kentucky. This might throw up some red flags, but honestly, I think Wichita State could have even been seeded a little bit higher than a 10 seed, and I think they're playing great, great basketball right now, and I think the pressure for Kentucky is a little bit too high right now, and even if they do beat Wichita State, they're looking at probably playing a team like UCLA, so if not here, Kentucky might run out of steam somewhere down the line. In my opinion, it'll happen in the round of 32, and I will get the bracket reset, and I'll come back to you with the Sweet 16. Alright, so we're going to do the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 at the same time, just to make things a little bit quicker. I have Villanova over Virginia and Duke over Baylor. Once we get into the next round, I then see Villanova over Duke. I think Villanova is just a really great 1 seed this year. From there, there we go. From there, I have West Virginia upsetting Gonzaga, Arizona over Xavier, and into the next round, Arizona over West Virginia. From there, I have Iowa State upsetting Kansas. I love the way Iowa State is playing basketball. Like I said, I have them going very far. And Oregon over Michigan. From here, I have Iowa State over Oregon. Again, might be polarizing, but I think Iowa State's got a really good basketball team this year, and that's just my opinion. From here, I have Butler over UNC. That'll be a good upset. Butler has beat Villanova twice. They're playing really good basketball this season. And UCLA over Wichita State. From there, Butler over UCLA. I think the Bruins are a great team, but I think they might run out of steam when it comes time for the Elite 8. And that'll do it for the round of 16 and the Elite 8. I will get it reset and come back. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for my final 4. I have Villanova and Arizona, Iowa State, and Butler. And from there, going to the national championship, I got the Arizona Wildcats and the Iowa State Cyclones. Again, like I said before, I love the way Iowa State is playing basketball. They have an absolutely amazing team. And Arizona, I see as a team that is playing, another team that's playing really good basketball. And Villanova, I know that they're a great 1 seed. I know that. But when it comes time for the Final Four, I don't know if they can get over that hump and into the final game. And I definitely don't see them as a team that can repeat for the first time since a team in 05. That will lead us to the national championship game, where I have Arizona and Iowa State. And I have Arizona winning the national championship. Hopefully this all works out, but as we've seen in the past, stuff can go wrong in the first round that might make this not happen. But anyways, I have Arizona over Iowa State. I'm not really going to go through the tiebreaker score because I don't really care. And that is my bracket, so hopefully all goes well. I'll turn it over to Jacob Burton now, but let's hope that goes over well.
Alright, hey everybody, this is my March Madness bracket. Watch basketball, not a lot, but sometimes, and feeling pretty good about my bracket, and hopefully things go well. First matchup I got is Villanova over MSM. They're going to be moving on. And then I have Wisconsin over Virginia Tech. We keep going down. UVA over UNC Wilmington. And then Florida over East Tennessee. And I have SMU beating either Providence or USC. Baylor over New Mexico State. I have Marquette over South Carolina. Don't see that as much of an upset. I think Marquette's pretty good. And Duke beating Troy. Northwestern's first time to the dance, and I have them winning over Vanderbilt. Notre Dame beats Princeton. Princeton's good, but their 3-point people aren't very good. West Virginia over Bucknell. I have Maryland beating Xavier, and FSU beating Dunk City. Over here, VCU over St. Mary's. I like VCU. I think they're pretty good. And Arizona beating North Dakota. If we move over now, we got Kansas beating the 16 seed. I have Michigan State beating Miami. I think Miami could choke. I have Iowa State beating Nevada. I like Nevada though. Could be a dark horse. And I like Purdue. They're pretty good over Vermont. Rhode Island and Creighton. I think Rhode Island has a pretty good shot at beating the 6th seed. They're pretty good. Oregon's pretty good. I have Michigan over Oklahoma State, and I have Louisville over Jacksonville State. In this part of the bracket, I have UNC over 16, Texas Southern. I have Seton Hall over Arkansas. It's kind of a toss-up. Mid-Tennessee over Minnesota. And I have Butler over Winthrop. Cincinnati's beating KSU. UCLA should beat Kent State, I'd hope. I like Wichita. I do like Dayton though, but Wichita I think will win. And then Kentucky over Northern Kentucky, which should be next round. I think Nova gets upset by Wisconsin. They had a good Big Ten tournament. They got pumped in finals, but they're playing good basketball. UVA beats Florida. I like SMU over Baylor. I think Baylor's really good, but I think SMU can pull that. And I think Duke beats Marquette. Zaga beats Northwestern. Their fairy tale run is over. West Virginia beats Notre Dame. Maryland over FSU. And Arizona over VCU. Then I have Kansas beating Michigan State. And Purdue beating Iowa State, Filippo's favorite team. Rhode Island, I don't think they can beat Oregon. Never know though. And I have Michigan playing upset on Louisville. Yeah, UNC over Seton Hall. I don't think UNC will have any trouble. I think Butler beats Middle Tennessee. UCLA, Cincy. UCLA should win. Ball can't do it all. And Kentucky over Wichita State. So moving on to the Sweet 16 now. Wisconsin keeping their run going. I have Duke over SMU. Their dance ends. And then
You have Duke.
Oh yeah, Duke. Sorry, I can't see it.
Yeah,
I
Duke
figured I'd
opens
do it.
once, yeah.
Next round, Sweet 16. Gonzaga beats West Virginia and Zona beats Maryland. In that one, I have Arizona beating Gonzaga. And then Purdue's run ends, Kansas wins, and Oregon beats Michigan. And then from that game, I have Kansas beating Oregon. Next one, UNC beating Butler and UCLA beating Kentucky, with UNC eventually beating UCLA. So when we're looking at our Final Four, I think Duke can beat Arizona. I think Duke's playing good basketball, and I think Kansas will beat UNC, but that game will be one to watch for sure. And then if we're looking at the national championship game, I have Kansas beating Duke in what should be a pretty good game. I believe the score is going to be 72-68. And that's my bracket. Hopefully it does well, and yeah, thanks.
All right, so we're going to start it off. We have Villanova over Mount St. Mary's. They got their first ever win there last night. Pretty big win for them as a program. Then we got Wisconsin over Virginia Tech. I think that's going to be a pretty easy win for Wisconsin. Bronson Koenig, Nigel Hayes, they shouldn't have too much problem with Virginia Tech. Wisconsin plays really good defense, and Virginia Tech relies on the three ball. And then in the round of 32, I'm going to do the round of 32s just after, so we can keep it sort of with the same teams right away. I do have Villanova beating Wisconsin, but that will be a tight matchup, and I would not be surprised if Wisconsin came out on top. Next up, we have our two upsets, and I debated this one, the UNC Wilmington, Virginia. Virginia plays great defense and holds, like, they have the best defense in the country, basically, but Wilmington scores on average 85 a game and plays good defense themselves. So I don't think Virginia can score enough on Wilmington to beat a team like that takes care of the ball well. And then Florida, East Tennessee State. The one thing about upsets in the March Madness, usually comes with good guard play, which East Tennessee State has with TJ Cromer, very good guard, averages about 20 points a game. And they also start 4 seniors, which makes a huge difference come crunch time. Florida sort of stumbled late. They lost their big shot blocker to a torn ACL, and I just see East Tennessee State pulling through there. And then next we have Wilmington and East Tennessee State. They're out of 32. I think Wilmington does a very good job of creating turnovers against East Tennessee State and slows them down enough that they can comfortably come out of that with a victory. We have SMU, who I think will be taking on USC. I think USC honestly got a little bit underseeded with their 24-8 season. They went 10-8 in the Pac-12, and most of their big losses came without their top player, Benny Boatwright. But SMU is a very good team, and they will pretty easily handle USC. When we go on to Baylor, they'll also pretty easily handle the Aggies in New Mexico State. Love to see an upset, but just don't think I'll be able to see it from that 14-3. And then in the SMU-Baylor game, I do have SMU beating Baylor. Jonathan Motley gets into early foul trouble, and Sammy Ojale shows what he's made of. Him and Shake Milton carry SMU over Baylor into the Sweet 16. Marquette over South Carolina. South Carolina, another team that sort of stumbled through the finish. Sindarius Thornwell has been struggling of late, really. Besides their triple overtime game, he hasn't been able to put up too many points lately, and Marquette can flat out shoot the ball, and they're not afraid. Very good team. And Duke easily handles Troy. I'm not even really sure why Troy got a 15 seed. I would have probably preferred them to be on the 16 line and given it to South Dakota State, but is what it is. And then I have Duke pretty easily handling Marquette. Marquette just doesn't have enough to hang with the skill of Duke. Next we have Gonzaga, South Dakota State. If this was the year that a 16 were to beat a 1, this would be the game. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It shouldn't happen. But if there was a time for a 1 seed to lose, it will be right here. South Dakota State is the second leading scorer in the nation, Mike Daum. And they slow the pace down. They pass the ball around well. They should not be able to beat a very good Gonzaga team. But if there were a chance, this is the matchup to where it could happen. Next up, we have Vanderbilt, Northwestern. Northwestern, I like them. I like Scotty Lindsey and McIntosh. but Vanderbilt has just been playing great basketball lately. They're hot at the right time, and when a team's hot, they're hot, and you got to expect them to come out on top. Then I also have Gonzaga beating Vanderbilt in the round of 32. I don't think Vanderbilt matches up very well with Gonzaga on that one. They won't be able to hang down low, and Gonzaga pretty easily squeezes through there. Next up, we have Notre Dame Princeton, and I do have Princeton going through here. Hey, Notre Dame's a very good team, and they play a very similar style to Princeton. Princeton slows it down, and so does Notre Dame. But I think when it comes down to it, I think Princeton can pull the upset off. Ivy League schools have been playing very well in the tournament in the last 4 or 5 years. I think they've won almost 4 or 5 years. I think they've won and their first round matchup, and they've put scares into teams like Kansas and UNC in the second round. The next up, I have West Virginia Bucknell. Pretty easy game for West Virginia to beat Bucknell. Bucknell turns the ball over a lot, and they like to shoot a lot of transition shots, which plays right into the hands of West Virginia. That should be an easy one. And I have, in the round of 32, who do I have there? Do I have Princeton or West Virginia?
I couldn't tell you. We'll get back to you on the next one.
I have Maryland Xavier. I think that's a pretty easy game for Melo Trimble. Xavier's really struggled down the stretch after losing Edmund Sumner to torn ACL. And I don't even think that one's even going to be close. I think Maryland wins that one by double digits. FSU, Florida Gulf Coast. Florida Gulf Coast is not Dunk City from 2 years ago or 3 years ago with Andy Enfield moving on. They're a team that scores a lot of 2-point shots and will just be realistically just out athleticism by FSU. They're just too big, too fast, too long, and they easily get through there. And then Maryland FSU. Maryland just doesn't have enough to match up with FSU. FSU's got Jonathan Isaac, Dwayne Bacon, Xavier Rodemays. The list goes on for FSU. They got a deep rotation, and Maryland relies too much on freshmen. And Melo Trimble's very good, but his career comes to an end right there. And I have the unpopular pick in the group, where I have St. Mary's, probably the most underappreciated 3-loss or 4-loss team now that they lost in the conference final as well of all time. They lost 3 games to Gonzaga and 1 game to a very good UT Arlington team who probably should have got into the tournament had their top scorer not broken his thumb in the conference semifinal. But I think St. Mary's handles that pretty easily. They have great post play with Jock Landau, and I don't think VCU can match up down low. So I think St. Mary's grabs that one. Arizona over North Dakota. I think that's a pretty easy game for Arizona. North Dakota hasn't shown me too much that suggests they win there. And then in a very, very close matchup between Arizona and St. Mary's, I think Arizona comes out on top. Yeah, Arizona should be able to beat that one. Kansas should have no problem with either of the two teams they're going to face, UC Davis or NC Central. Neither should pose much of a threat. Next up, I have Miami. I have to give a shout out to my man Eric Green. I'd like to take the Spartans here, but I can't disrespect Eric like that. The U's played some decent ball this year. Jaquan Newton, very good player. And yeah, I have Miami beating Michigan State. And then I have Kansas beating Miami in the round of 32. I do expect Miami to put a tight, little bit of a scare into Kansas in the first half, but then they pull away. Next up, I have Iowa State. Me and Filippo both love Iowa State. They start 4 seniors who can all shoot the lights out, and they just put Solomon Young, who's their big man now, into the starting lineup about 12, 13 games ago, and that's been the turning point for the season. About 12 games ago, I was talking to my buddy Eric again, and he was like, I don't even know if they're going to make the tournament. I was like, all they need to do is put a big man in the starting 5. Solomon Young comes in, the freshman, does a great job to finish out the year. And I think the veteran leadership of Monte Morris, Deontay Burton, Naz Long, and Matt Thomas really lifts Iowa State over Nevada. Next up, I would love to take Vermont in this situation. They played great basketball all year. They went undefeated in the American East, but Purdue is just too big, too strong down low. Vermont doesn't have anybody over 6'7" that can match up with the likes of Caleb Swanigan and Isaac Haas down low. So Purdue wins that one, I think, fairly easily just because of size. And in a very tough matchup, actually, for Iowa State in the round of 32, just because they don't play big bodies, really. They only have Solomon Young. They play a 4-guard system. I think that'll be a tough matchup for them, but I do think that their leadership from Monte Morris takes them out over Purdue. Purdue doesn't force a lot of steals, and Monte Morris takes very good care of the ball. Next up, we have URI Creighton. At the beginning of the year with Mo Watson, I absolutely loved Creighton. I thought for sure they were going to the Final Four. But when Mo Watson tore his ACL, this team sort of just fell apart. Still an okay basketball team, but they've been going downhill lately, and URI started slow, and they've been coming up. They have E.C. Matthews. They have some senior leadership, good coach in Hurley, and I think they should fairly easily beat Creighton. Oregon, Iona. They've been to the tournament multiple times lately, but they just keep getting tough matchups. There's no way that Iona beats Oregon. They're basically a poor man's Oregon. They play the same way, they're just not quite as athletic, and they don't have Dylan Brooks. Then I have URI Oregon. I have URI taking out Oregon because they have one of the best defenders in the nation on URI. I think he plays a great job on locking up Dylan Brooks. Without Chris Boucher, it's very tough for Oregon to get through a tough, gritty URI team. Next up, everybody is high on Michigan right now, and they played a great Big Ten tournament. They've closed the year strong, but people are forgetting how good Oklahoma State is. They are great. They have Juwan Evans, Jeffrey Carroll, who can flat out score the ball. They have Mitchell Solomon. They're a very good basketball team, and I think that Michigan's golden run here comes to an end in the first round abruptly. Then I have Louisville, Jacksonville State. Louisville handles them easily. And Louisville, Oklahoma State. Louisville is just too long, too big, and they get through Oklahoma State. That's a tough matchup for Oklahoma State. Now we have UNC, Texas Southern. Not much there from Texas Southern to give UNC a run. And we have Seton Hall to beat Arkansas. Not Arkansas, Birdie. Seton Hall is a very good team. Angel Delgado leads the NCAA in rebounds. And Arkansas really doesn't have much to stop him. He's just a beast down low, and I don't think they will be able to. And in the second round, Seton Hall, UNC. UNC gets through there, but again, a very scary matchup with Seton Hall. I think UNC matches up well with their bigs on Angel Delgado, but Seton Hall proved that they can play all year. They almost beat Nova in the Big East tournament. They lost by 2 points. And yeah, UNC moves on. Next up, another popular upset pick, Middle Tennessee. I don't blame you guys, but I cannot bet against my Gophers. I know we just lost to Akeem Springs, a great veteran leader for the rest of the season with his ACL, and he was a great three-point shooter, but we still have Nate Mason, Jordan Murphy, and Reggie Lynch blocks a lot of shots. He blocked 11 shots against Penn State 2 weeks ago and didn't commit a foul. Very impressive team in Minnesota, and I love Middle Tennessee, but I just don't think they get it done against my Gophers. Next up, we have Butler and Winthrop. Butler, very weird team. They're undersized, but they just win games. They play well. They've bought into the system, and I think they beat Winthrop. I'd love to see Keon Johnson. He's 5'6", 5'7", with averaging like 22 a game to beat Butler, but I just can't see it when it comes down to it. And then I have Minnesota Butler. I believe I have the Gophers in this one. The Gophers are just very long and better than Butler. I like Nate Mason compared to Martin, and I think the Gophers play more disciplined basketball and they squeak through the Butler Bulldogs. Next up, we have Cincinnati versus K-State. K-State gave up, I think, 87 points last night to Wake Forest, and they scored 95 or something like that, but I think Cincinnati's going to play a little bit tougher defense than Wake did in that game and handle them pretty easily. UCLA, Kent State, unless we see Antonio Gates coming in for Kent State and making a magical run again to the Elite Eight, I don't see much hope for the Golden Flashes there. We have UCLA moving on, and then in a upset pick, I'm taking Cincinnati to handle UCLA. UCLA has a great offense, but Cincinnati has an outstanding defense like they always do. And Cincinnati this year can finally say they have a good offense. Not a great offense, a good offense. I think they give Lonzo Ball and UCLA some problems in the second round and take them out. Now in this game, this was a very, very tough pick for myself. I debated back and forth. I love both teams. Dayton starts 4 seniors. They have a reason to play. One of their teammates that would have been 5 seniors that they would have started this year actually died in the summer of a heart attack, and they wear the patch number 5 for Steve. And when a team has something to play for, they're always scary. But I think a Wichita State team also has something to prove. I don't think these teams should have been matched up in the first round. This is a second round matchup to me. I think both teams were a little bit underappreciated here. But I think Wichita State just barely squeaks through to get that rematch with Kentucky, and I think they will beat Kentucky. I think Wichita State handles Kentucky in the second round, gets a little revenge from that undefeated season they were trying to pull the other couple of years ago there with Ron Baker and Fred Van Fleet, and they squeak through Kentucky. Okay, so we have our Sweet 16 and Elite 8 matchups. We're starting with our Sweet 16. We have Villanova beating UNC Wilmington. Sorry, just your run's got to come to an end eventually, Wilmington. Villanova's a great team. Next up, we have SMU versus Duke. This will be a scary game. Sammy Ojeleye has something to prove. He was a Duke transfer. Coach K couldn't give him any minutes. He went over to SMU, and he's averaging 19 a game and dominating, shooting over 40% from 3. I think Duke is they're just too long, and they're going to beat SMU. They score a lot of points in the paint. They got Tatum. Emil Jefferson's a very good big man as well. Harry Giles is doing well coming off the bench. And then you also have, obviously, Luke Kennard and Grayson Allen, who are very good options to score the ball. Then we have Duke Villanova. The Blue Devils are red hot, but they could not outsmart Villanova with the veteran leadership of Hart, Brunson. Even though he's a sophomore, he plays like he's a senior. And yeah, Villanova beats Duke. We have Gonzaga, West Virginia. Press Virginia gives Gonzaga problems. They are very long, athletic, and will speed you up, and Gonzaga has not played anybody of this caliber. Gonzaga has some wins. They had a neutral floor win over Iowa State. That was an Iowa State team without starting Solomon Young. That was a 2-point win. And they had Arizona without Lonzo Trier. I just don't think they get past Press Virginia. Bob Huggins gets his boys into the Elite 8. And FSU, Arizona. This game will be played in Orlando. Virtually a home game for FSU, and that's scary. But I do think Arizona's playing very good ball right now, and they will beat FSU, but don't be surprised to see FSU beat Arizona and end up in the Final Four. I have Arizona, West Virginia. Arizona takes care of the ball and can shoot the lights out. I take Arizona to beat Press Virginia. Sorry, Bob Huggins, but you're not getting to the Final Four this year. Now, Kansas, Iowa State. Iowa State has beat Kansas this year at Kansas, and this game will be played in Kansas City. But Cyclones fans travel well. If any of you guys watched the Big 12 tournament, it was virtually a home game in the finals for them in Kansas City. Iowa State, again, I like Frank Mason, senior leadership, senior guard, but he's shown fatigue late in games this year, and they've squeaked out a lot of wins. Iowa State, Deontay Burton, they end Kansas's run right there. Then we have URI Louisville, both very good defensive teams. It comes down to Louisville having a slightly better offense and a little bit more reliable guards. I love E.C. Matthews, but Donovan Mitchell, you can never count him out. Then we go Louisville, Iowa State. Louisville's too big. So we did have some technical difficulties, but we are back here with my Elite 8 picks. I have Louisville taking out Iowa State. Love my Cyclones, but Louisville's too big, too strong, and they rebound the basketball. Iowa State had the worst rebounding margin in the Big 12 at minus 10.2 a game, and Louisville will look to exploit that. And I think they honestly will handle Iowa State by double digits. Next up, we have UNC Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense is excellent. Their offense is good, like I said earlier, but UNC is good at both. Great bigs down low, and Joel Berry is a beast. In my other matchup here, we have UNC Louisville. I have UNC taking the cake. That should be an instant classic. We have two great coaches going at it. Pitino and Williams, very experienced. They know each other's play styles, but great guard play wins championships, as we have seen in recent years. Joel Berry carries UNC over Louisville. Okay, and in our other Final Four matchup, we have the Battle of the Wildcats. Troy Bolton is not going to be coming in here to hit any baskets from the SEC play at Nathan Scruton. But Arizona will win the Battle of the Wildcats. They take out Villanova. I think it's just too hard for a team to repeat as champions in this day and age. And they have lost some great players this year with Archidiakono and Shefu down low is a big part of last year's team. They still have the likes of Chris Jenkins, Jalen Brunson, and my man Josh Hart. But Schreier and the boys get through Villanova and advance to the final, where they ultimately will fall to the North Carolina Tar Heels in a instant classic again. Hoping to have another great championship game as we witnessed last year. Filippo is just setting this all up for us. But again, I love Joel Berry and what he does in clutch situations. Last year it was Marcus Page for North Carolina hitting the big shot, tie the game, although they ultimately lost. It is Joel Berry's time, and I think he carries UNC to the championship, winning by a score of 71-66. I think it's going to be a one-possession game late, and they pull away with a couple clutch free throws. So that is my bracket. Thank you for having me on the Bears Den, and wish me luck.
All right, thank you guys for watching. These were our March Madness picks. To sum up, Callum had UNC taking it all. Myself, I had Arizona, and Jake Burton had Kansas. So that'll do it for us. Be kind to us in the comments. We know that we might not be right, but anything can happen, so just keep that in mind. Thank you very much, guys, for being on this show. It was a huge pleasure. We're going to put the Instagram names either up above us or in the description. Be sure to give these guys a follow. And until next time, thanks for watching.